What is Mintzberg's cognitive school of strategic development? Well, researcher Henry Mintzberg proposed a framework for how strategy is generated, created, or it arises within an organization. And this was a 10-part framework where he identified 10 different schools of thought regarding how strategy is developed. One of those schools is the cognitive school. And as the name implies, this approach focuses on the creative processes that occurs in the mind of the strategist or strategists who develop or actively work to create strategy for the organization. So in that way, it's based upon individual knowledge, experience, and perceptions. That is, it's highly subjective in nature. And these are the core premises of the cognitive school. That is, you're focusing on the mental processes of the strategist and where those mental processes come from. Now, because strategy is so heavily dependent upon this subjective interpretation of things, that is, the individual's perspectives that influence everything they do and the way they interact with the environment, everything that the strategist comes into contact with in the environment is subject to their interpretations, right? So this subjective interpretation of environmental factors leads the strategist in how they come up with strategies for the organization. Now, because of this, because it's highly subjective and it's very cognitive or psychological in nature, strategies tend to be very vague in nature. They're very difficult to grasp as a concept from the very beginning until they are fleshed out as part of the implementation process. They generally begin very suboptimal in nature because, once again, an individual themselves, it has some level of bias or predisposition, and they can't incorporate all information that is present by everyone who is going to be part of the strategic implementation process. So they tend to be suboptimal in the very beginning until they are further fleshed out and developed. And also, once a strategy is in place, it's very difficult to change. Even when the market changes or the operational environment changes and strategy needs to be adjusted, existing strategies are very difficult to change once they're in place. Now, these are the core premises of the cognitive school, but in summary, it concerns the strategist and their internal mental processes. This is very similar in nature to the entrepreneurial school of strategic development, whereby they focus on the internal workings of the early founder or the entrepreneur who drives strategy in the organization. So it's the entrepreneur who's the strategist. So this is a continuation there for other types of organizations whereby the strategists sometimes are separate from the highest level individuals. But whoever the strategist is going to be influenced by these cognitive factors, and thereby these cognitive factors influence how strategy is developed in the organization.